All right, great. So I hope that we all are ready. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about all the Summer 22 release highlights for developers and architects. So you already know me, so I'm going to skip the part. But just for the starters, so my name is Hamza. I'm Salesforce MVP and the director of product development in the 70 times Salesforce certified application and system architect and a build developer. I do write blogs and a couple of stuff as well. You can find me on a GitHub, on a Stack Overflow, and whatnot. And it's a start. It's that time of the year again. Another release is nearly upon us, which means a whole bunch of new features and functionality to play around with. Salesforce releases brings more excitement to both admin developers and architects in the back end, as well as users who get a UI improvements on the front end. Today we'll be only focusing for the highlights for developers and architects. The first thing you should be aware of is when your production instances will be upgraded to the Salesforce Summer 22 release. It's important that you test all your main use cases in your org before this date to ensure that everything continues to work. Although Salesforce releases rarely have any major bugs, it's important that these checks are carried out away. Right now, as you can see on these dates, so pre-release already been almost done. Release notes is almost ready. So Sandbox preview starts at 5.6 and so on. So you can check whatever you're doing. Make sure that all if you're planning to do any of this, because some things that are based on some 22 release, you should spin off a new scratch or the sandboxes from your production org, and you can test it over there. Also, you can spin off a new dev org for the summer 22 release that you can play around with the new features. So this is how we're gonna cover today. We're first gonna talk about all the platform changes. Only I'm gonna highlight it for developers and architects. The next one we go a little deep down for the Lightning Web component stuff. Then the Apex flows, and then we'll set up with a QA. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me, and then we'll go over the vouchers giveaway. So let's spin off with the platform. This is a good one. So the first thing is that you can do is that to discover the objects and the fields available to users with the search manager. We've been all through this. If we have to go for the searchable field, we have to go to the object manager and search for the specific field or any object that we are looking for. But now, using this search manager, you can easily view all the searchable objects and the search status of each field with search manager. It saves time and narrows your search using filters so that you can verify whether a field is searchable or not. This is a very good one, and I'm sure that many of us will was looking forward to this one. This one is also a big one. Um, Earlier, you knew that the Salesforce has the address field, but that's only the standard field. You cannot create the address fields. If you have to duplicate that, you will have to create the custom fields from yourself for each of the field. Let's just say for the address field, you have to create your text fields for the street, for the province, for the state, for the country, for the zip code. But now we now have this custom address field type that you can spin off a new type of that. It's the same fashion as the standard address field has been much more needed feature for this year. Super exciting news that we can have this. Currently, this is in beta with the summer 22 release, but this is gonna be available so for sure. But before you get too excited, like me, and start diving around your org looking for this magical field, we want that you need to have state and country territory picklist configured first, otherwise the new field is not available. I'm turning on the QA section, so you can proceed with questioning and question if you have any. All right, this one is also a good one. So, Summer 22 release brought some plenty of new features that will increase productivity and save time when configuring picklist. In particular, the ability to delete, activate, and deactivate or replace multiple custom picklist field values at once instead of one at a time. As you can see the highlight section, you can do it now easily instead of having some custom extensions, Google extensions, Chrome extensions or whatnot. That gives you a couple of some similar functionality. These are coming as an out of the box functionality right now. Well, this little time-saving trick also improves system performance. You can now opt to receive an email when custom picklist fields have more than 4,000 active pickle values, whereas before you would have to check each field individually. Now you have email me button right there, which will send you a list of all the inactive values under your custom picklist field, which you can easily identify how many are inactive, and you can deactivate them or delete them or whatever you like to do with them. So this is also a lifesaver. The next one is clean up inactive cookies values. That's also relevant to the earlier one we talked about. And as you can see that you have the option to delete unused values. So now you can bulk delete inactive checklist values in custom checklist fields instead of having to do it one by one. I know how painful it was earlier to do it individually, but now you have this button out of the box in Summit 22, which you can use to bulk delete all the inactive values. So just to reassure that we are on the same page, this feature is still on a beta. It's not available. It's not general available at the moment, but you can play around with the DevOps or Sketchbox with that. So I assume that you guys know these terminologies of the beta, pilot, and GA. So GA is actually the generally available, means that it's stable. It has everything been tested by the developers and the whole community that it is safe to use that feature and now available for everyone. The beta means that it's out of the pilot now, means that it's now not anymore in pilot but in a beta stage. That may have some bugs, but it is for you available to use it. And the pilot means that it's the new feature which is haven't been tested properly, and for sure it may have some bugs, but it's just there for you to play around. All right, moving forward. Wow, historically, if you try to add a new picklist value that already existed and was therefore a duplicate, you just get a warning that one of your new values was a duplicate. That was for sure not very helpful, especially if you were creating a long list of new values. But now in Summer 22 release, the duplicate value error message will tell you which of your values is a duplicate. I know you may be thinking this is related to the admin, but most of them I deliberately hijacked from the super excited new release new features that may be helpful for developers, because most of the our developers do create these values and do have to tackle all of this nitty gritty of the things. So I believe that that will be helpful for developers and architects as well, so architect can know, okay, now which this step is also very helpful now, that can save the time so they can do a better estimations. So as you can see on the screenshot, we have a couple of field values we're trying to add, but the error message is telling us that which field is a duplicate. So we don't have to go back and see which one is duplicated with the matching of the list that I'm trying to add. You can simply see which one is duplicate, and you can proceed with that. Oh, that's a lifesaver. That's a big save. So now, if you remember, historically, if you remember that you had to contact Salesforce support to get person accounts enabled. To get me started with the interaction with how painful it is to interact with Salesforce support. It takes actually a couple of days to interact with Salesforce support. You can getting to let them know what you are willing to do, and obviously as a time zone differences, you log a case, they respond the next day, they get to know, okay, what you are looking for, they confirm, and then next day you confirm what you want, You want to enable the personal accounts, and the next third day, which actually the third day, they do give you instructions. Okay, we have enabled this from our side. Now you have to do this. And the fourth day, you got all the personal account. I mean, all the done, all the stuff that you were willing for was done. So it usually takes 3 to 4 days. In my personal experiences, if you get into the Salesforce support to get your personal accounts enabled. Um, Obviously, before excitedly checked out that the new set of users, remember the personal account cannot be disabled. So only enable them after doing this for your diligence. And now you can do this yourself in your org. It's a guided setup to self-enable personal accounts in your org. This will be available in Summer 22 release. So just check, make sure the dates of your org getting into Summer 22, and then you can spin off with that. All right, I'm putting a message so you can fill this form to participate for the raffle. All right, coming back to our presentation. So now that was all for the platforms. Now we're gonna deep dive into Apex. Just tell me how good was the platform events? Are you excited about some 20 release that's happening? That does it bringing us some of these awesome features? You can use the general tab to let me know. So now we're gonna deep dive to Apex. Apex is not much. Apex is the one that obviously is more stable. That doesn't need much of that stuff. But Salesforce do bring a couple of new features every time of the year. There are more changes, but I'm just covering the only the highlighted sections, which are more better and more highlighted as respect to the others. So the first one is a secure Apex code with user mode database operations. So earlier, you know that let's just say that you have your Apex running in the system mode. Obviously, everything that goes in that Apex class gets gets run by the system mode. But now we have the access level on our SOCL queries. Now you can now declare if Apex run database operations in a user mode or a system mode. The new database method supports an access level parameter that lets you run database operation in a user mode instead of in a default system mode. As you can see on this simple query that select ID from account with user underscore mode. This can also be the system underscore mode if you want to run this query for system mode. You don't have to make the whole class run without sharing. You can simply do that now. And same goes with the database operations. You can simply specify user or system mode. Example, inserts a new account in the users. You can see this diagram is that insert as user ACC. ACC is a new instance of the new account, as you can see in the class. So you can also identify either that using the SOCL or the DML operations. You can identify if the system, how system should pretend it is a system mode or the user mode. This one was also a good one. This is, you may not feel this is the new one, but it is actually. It's in a developer preview at the moment, and that means that it's only available in the scratch orgs. So if you want to play around with this feature, make sure you have call IA from Apex in a feature to have this to play around with this one. So this is example of a custom invocable action, um, which is returning the number to twice the input, and the method name is action name is doubler. So the first line is actually we are creating a new instance of invocable.action.create custom action. Create custom action is the action name. Actually, the doubler is the action name, and the invocable action is Apex. The next line we are inputting the parameter. The input value is 1, and once done that, now you're gonna do is invocable.action.result. We are doing in a list because there can be multiple. It's a bulkified. That's the reason. And in a loop, we are just checking the result if it's success or not. If it's success and the record size is more than 1, then just debug the result, and with the results of get output parameters and get output should be the variable that's coming out from the invocable action method. You so right now, you may be wondering that right now, if you create an invocable class, that either for the flows or the process builder, you can still use the apex to call that. This is another feature. This is another way for calling that invocable action from the apex. So in the future, I believe this is going to be the best practice, that if you want to do, if you go the modular approach, if you are writing some kind of code which can be used by different methods like flows and process builders or the apex, you should write that as an invocable method which can be used by the other apex methods as well as the flows. I hope you guys are with me on this. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. So we are out of the Apex section, now getting in to the Lightning Web Components. So now you can build components in mixed shadow mode. I hope that many of you know what shadow mode is. So with mixed shadow mode, Lightning Web Component can use native shadow DOM even when the synthetic shadow polyfill is applied. The benefit is that you gain the speed and the efficiency of using native shadow as much as possible in your app, and you can more readily migrate to use native shadow fully in the future. So mixed shadow mode is kind of a disabled by default. You have to contact Salesforce support to enable this mixed shadow mode. If in this method, if you can see, the upper one is the HTML, and the next and the below is a JavaScript file. It's just mimicking how you can use a mixed shadow mode for them. As you can see, that we have this static shadow support mode. This is equals to any. We have two values against that. You can have any. You can have the values as well. And with that, as you can see on the top, we are calling the C native, which is using shadow root, and the other one is a synthetic. And using this shadow support mode with any means that you can use the mixed shadow mode in your Lightning Web Components. Just mark my words, this is going to be the future for Lightning Web Components. This is going to be used by many developers around the world to have the stability and the efficiency in the Lightning Web Components you're working on. This one is also good, as you can now enable third-party integrations with Light DOM, which is a GA, means it's generally available. Lightning Web Components render in a shadow mode by default, so as you already know, providing strong encapsulation but posing challenges for global styling and many third-party integrations. Because shadow mode by default, it is a more secure way. You may remember the Lightning Locker services. It works in a similar way. But now, as you have with this light DOM, your component markers attached to the host element instead of the shadow tree. So now you can then access it like any other content in the document host. The reason Lightning DOM is better is as a new feature is that it allows third-party tools to transfer the DOM, enabling standard browser query APIs like Query Selector or Query Selector All without transversing the shadow rule. It also facilitates global styling, as you can apply custom branding to your components and child components easily. As you can see on this code as well, that how you can enable the Lightning DOM. You can enable the Lightning DOM easily with this. First of all, JavaScript method, you have to the render mode. You can set it to light, or the default value is actually the shadow. You can keep it light, and in the HTML, you have this LWC render mode to the attribute of the template tag to the light. Then you can do that. This will allow you to easily integrate your third party in JavaScript libraries or what maybe you can include that. This like DOM component can contain a shadow DOM component. Similarly, um, can you guys hear me? Can you please confirm that right now? Okay, great. Thank you. So what I was saying about this Lightning DOM. So Lightning DOM component can contain a shadow DOM component. Similarly, a shadow DOM component can contain a Lightning DOM component. However, base Lightning component always run in a shadow mode DOM. So restricting Lightning DOM to a specific namespace is not supported yet. And importantly, Salesforce don't recommend using Lightning DOM if you're working with sensitive data. The reason is that Lightning DOM exposes your components to DOM scraping. So you don't get the benefit that comes with the shadow DOM encapsulation, which prevents unauthorized access to shadow tree. So that's the reason that it's better to use the shadow DOM. But if you have, let's just say, some third-party libraries that you are including, but the shadow DOM is conflicting with that, you can switch your mode to the Lightning DOM. So the Lightning DOM, you can have your better and easy integration. But remember, um, shadow DOM has more security, more it's because of the DOM scraping. It prevents that. This one also is a kind of a little change in the toast like functionality. So right now, as you know, the JavaScript by default gives you the feature of confirm and alert kind of a messages. But now Lightning Web Components brings you its own event that you can use. So you can use these new modules called Lightning Alert, Lightning Confirm, and Lightning Prompt instead of native APIs to create notification from Lightning Web Components. The reason is that the Chrome and Safari plan to end support for cross-origin use of window.alert and window.confirm, and also, if I'm not wrong, the window.prompt as well with the native APIs. So each new module creates a model that functions like its API counterpart and works in cross-origin iframes. So it's better to you if you're currently using any of these window.alert, window.confirm, or the window.prompt using the native APIs in Lightning Web Components is to migrate to this new Lightning Alert and Lightning Confirm and prompt messages, because that's allows you for the cross origin support for the different browsers as well. And how you can do that, I have embedded a simple code in Lightning here. As you can see in C in the JavaScript, the first in the button it's simply the on-click action, which is calling the handle confirm click. And in JavaScript, as you can see, we are calling in the second line is Lightning confirm. We are calling the Lightning confirm library and using that event under the handle confirm click with a constant result. You can see that wait like await is basically the promise that we're using. So Lightning confirm dot open, we are opening the new confirmation window, and we have the message, we have the different variants, the labels in the message that we can present out. Similarly, you can I've not embedded the most of the Lightning alert and prompt as well in here, but you can go there, go to help.salesforce.com and go for those release notes. You will find more of these examples around these different workarounds of this. Oh, I love this one. I love this one. So how many you guys have been experienced with the data tables and having the more data to present in there? I know it. I know it's still painful. Is that the more data you are bringing into that data tables, it gets it gets a little laggy, right? So now in the Summer 22, you can display data tables with more than 200 rows more quickly and make them scroll more smoothly with the virtual rendering. For that, you simply have to use the render mode and render config attributes with the Lightning data table component to enable virtualization for your data table. Instead of rendering all the table rows on load, the data table renders the rows that are visible, and a few rows above and below them ensures smooth scrolling. As you can see on the code side, we are using the render config the variable that is having the virtualized attribute having the value vertical, and you can also have additional customization to this method. And which we are passing this render mode and the configuration in the Lightning dash data table component through the role base and the render config. Using this virtualization, it will allow your data to be virtually rendered, and which will allow you the less laggy and more smooth experience for the end users. So that was most loving, and I personally like all of these, liking the component enhancements. There are more. You should go ahead with the release notes for more. Now I'm gonna talk about flows. I know it's more. It comes under the admin part, but here in my personal opinion, many of the developers still do these flow stuff, so they should know what new things are coming in flows. And just to assure you that I'm not covering everything that's in flows. I'm just covering what is important for developers and the architects only. I'm keeping it all for the women tech or the admin group to cover the most of the flows releases, because flows is the favorite part of the release notes from like 2 3 years. Every time Salesforce comes up with a new release, many people love whatever they're the hard work they're doing for the flows in each release. And we have seen so far in like 2 3 days how they have made flows the better product in the whole Salesforce platform. All right, so let's dive into the flows. So the first one I like is that um, you can now manage run order of record trigger flows using Flow Trigger Explorer. We don't need to open edit flows and update the order. Instead, we can simply drag and drop flow in a new order. This section is available for the summer 22 release. I believe this is GA. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a GA. And yeah, because you can see the screenshot that I've attached. If you can simply search for, okay, which record trigger you want to do with that. We'll start, let's just say, for the accounts and the created. Then you have a list of all the record triggers that you're creating in your org for having the criteria created for the account, and you can simply drag and drop the order of your execution. This actually saves a lot of the efforts that you're doing for the automation. Earlier, if you knew that when we were doing it using the Apex triggers, we had to go with the custom settings or custom meta settings to make sure that trigger order the way you want to execute it. But now with flows, it's super easy now. So it's a test 1 2 3 flows. It's currently in the beta. That's I highlighted the name. So the main thing about this feature is that you can now do automated testing of record trigger flows. Yeah, you heard it right. That's right. You can now do the automated testing of the record trigger flow. From the debug run, we can create a flow run. We can set the multiple assertions to verify that the flow and check how flow was executed and how the variables are updated. We can also set the initial record or user manually set the field values. So this is actually killing the purpose of writing the test class for your flow. I know that how amazing is that, because if you're a good developer and you could make, so what you do is that whatever functionality that you do be build, you write an Apex test class against it. But now, um, I mean, it was general idea. You don't have to. There's no requirement to create the Apex test class for the flows, right? And many of us don't do that. But the good developers who are aware of the consequences of not writing the test class, not having your flows tested properly, they do write the Apex test classes for the flows as well. But now using this feature, you don't have to worry about that anymore, because you have the testing functionality built in the record flows. So this is the big one as well. The next is send screen flows to Slack with an invocable action. Well, this was also announced in the TDX that now you can now send a message to Slack channel, a direct message, or the message tab of a Slack app that includes a button that the recipient can use to launch a flow. These are invocable actions available in Summer 22 release, currently in a beta, which can send your data to the Slack channel or the direct message to anyone. This is the best example of having the Slack integration with Salesforce platform. I believe this is the last one, is that you can now we've been already been through this, right? So in a Spring 22, we knew now that there is a function that can allow you to convert your workflow rules to the flows with a migrate to flow to. The new thing, I mean, in Spring 22, we had a couple of flows and supported for the workflow rules that, like email alerts, field updates. You can do that. But now in Summer 22, we also have a support for the equal to null, not equal to null, and the rule criteria formula when you use this tool to convert your workflow rules to the flows. A quick note about this, that the formula that uses hour, minute, second, and time now, time value is clone, or the record type is still not supported yet. So when you are migrating, make sure that any of these formulas, you'll have to do some work on top of it. So now we are covering the honorable mentions that I would like to add in our presentation. So here are them. So the first one is the Salesforce function enhancement. I love everything about functions because I'm very more interested in that. So in a TDX, I got to know that now you can have the trial or the trial for the Salesforce function as well. There's a dev hub that you can go through that, and I'm not sure, but I've heard some news that Salesforce is planning to have a single free license for every org for the Salesforce functions in the future. So yeah, in future we may have the Salesforce functions free license for all of us. Yeah. So the new enhancement that coming in summer 22 is that using the Salesforce functions, you can now access the Heroku Postgre, including the data managed by Heroku Connect. And you can also publish events with Apache Kafka for Heroku, um, and optimize data access overhead with Redis for Heroku. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this Apache Kafka, Redis, and Postgre, or maybe Heroku, but if you're a developer, you should know what are these things are. If not, then you can Google them right now and learn more about them. Next one is event monitoring enhancements that are coming in Summit 22. Event monitoring's all new permission set event gives you granular visibility into permission set modifications. With this new event, you can use transaction security policy to prevent critical permissions from being maliciously or accidentally granted. This is a very good tool to a policy to make for to if you are working with events and you have to add another layer of security on top of it. There are many more AWS partnership enhancements. A couple of them also announced at TDX. Salesforce Connect adapter for Amazon DynamoDB automatically discovers the data services in your AWS account and can virtualize the data into Salesforce objects. Event Relays automatically sends events from Salesforce Event Bus to Amazon EventBridge. I'm going to talk more about it in here. That it's in a beta right now, but you can use this Event Bus Relay to send platform events and change data capture events from Salesforce to AWS without writing an integration app or any middleware. By using this event bus relay in Salesforce with Amazon EventBridge in AWS, your Salesforce event-driven apps can use AWS services to process events. And you can also send platform events from AWS back to Salesforce, where subscriber can process them using Salesforce platform capabilities. This one is related to Financial Services Cloud. Salesforce Financial Services Cloud receives more exciting updates as part of Summer 22. I'm just talk about this arc relationship graph. Um, if you have already worked with the relationship diagram, with relationship tree in File Service Cloud, you will love this new feature that now you can start building of graphs with the standard and custom objects, which can be displayed on a page layout, so leveraging the arc relationship graph, if you know about it, the component. And users can also edit nodes, show fields, and object records actions in this whole relationship center. So it's a very good tool for all the people who are working with File Service Cloud. Next is the Slack apps. So, with the recent acquisition of Slack, many of us have been eagerly waiting for enhanced connectivity with Salesforce. The Summer 22 release does that in a different ways. So, and we already talked about how you can do the invocable actions. Now we're going to talk about CRM analytics. I mean, CRM analytics allows users to browse and search for recent and favorite analytics items within Slack. Users can share and collaborate with team members by sharing links and snapshots within Slack. So this is also a very big tool for your business executives who spend more time with Slack. They can have a better integration with it in terms of CR analytics in Slack. This one also, the old but Salesforce has bring up new features into that. If you don't know about the platform assistant, is actually is your central hub of information and sources about the scalability and performance testing with Salesforce. Um, there's a step-by-step instructions available, that articles and tools to help you architect your system, conduct performance testing, and interpret your results. In each phase, performance assistant provides guidance and resources to help you test and system with confidence. You can visit Perform Assistant at any time during testing. This is available in your Salesforce, or you can go to the settings search for the Platform Assistant. You will get it right there. It's also available for the Spring 22 orgs as well, but there's a new enhancement in Spring 22, so it was one of my honorable mention that I wanted to mention about this, if because most of the people didn't know about it. Um, Last but not the least, as this product continues to grow and add new features, it's inevitable that sometimes the original name is not fit for the purpose anymore. Salesforce has recently renamed an awful lot of their products, so here are the reminder of these changes. So, High Velocity Sales has been renamed to Sales Engagement. My Trailhead is a part of a new solution called Sales Enablement. But this is not to be get confused with the Salesforce Sales Engagement and Sales Enablement. That's a two different things. There are also six marketing cloud products have been renamed. So messaging on the journey is now marketing cloud engagement. Interaction story and marketing cloud has been changed to marketing cloud personalization. Datorama has been changed to marketing cloud intelligence. Salesforce CDP has been changed to marketing cloud customer data platform. Advertising story and marketing cloud has been changed to marketing cloud advertising. Pardot was a separate product now called Marketing Cloud Account Engagement. And lastly, the Tableau CRM is renamed to CRM Analytics. So wherever you have a CRM Analytics, which is exactly Tableau we are talking about. So I'm just going to wrap up with whatever we have discussed. So all of these highlights was more for the developers and the architects who are in our ecosystem, and these all the new release highlights that in a 722 that you will be observing in your orgs sooner, as per the special key dates available for the summer 22. I hope that you have learned something new about this release, and I encourage you all to go and read the different blogs by different bloggers about the 722 highlights, and also the release notes is should be on the first and the last handbook. You should cover that in detail and thoroughly to learn more of what's coming in that. Um, all right, I don't think that I have to mention this, but it's still, if you are in Salesforce ecosystem, you know how important is the release notes. So always go with that, and make sure that every time Salesforce releases a new the release comes up, you should go there and read whatever there it is. All right, so I'm just wrapping it up. Thank you so much for joining. I'm gonna stop the recording.